Hi, my name is Marshall, and this is Waveform. Chances are that the last game you played sounded fantastic. Almost every AAA game these days has amazing sound design and a clear dynamic mix. But even among all these great sounding games, certain sound effects occasionally cement themselves into our culture and become iconic and unforgettable. I think the portal gun sound is in that category too. I love this sound because it breaks most conventions of what futuristic weapon sounds typically are like. Even in a really crowded field of sci-fi gun sounds, it carves out its own distinct character. To me, it sounds more similar to a wooden door slamming shut than it does to any sci-fi weapon I've heard before. Just like an artist develops their own visual style as they learn to paint, a sound designer also develops his or her sonic style. I could never explain what my own style of sound design is, frankly, I don't have any idea what it is, but I can tell you that I like the texture of this air conditioner sound a lot more than this one. As you practice sound design more and more, you begin to develop strange preferences like that. And as we've demonstrated in past episodes, those preferences drastically change the way two people approach the same sound design task, even when they're given the same source material to work with. Essentially what I'm trying to say is that it's impossible to replicate perfectly the creative process that somebody else used to create something iconic. And it's likely that no matter how good your technique is, you'll still end up preferring the sound that inspired you to replicate it in the first place. So today that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to try to replicate the portal gun sound. It may seem like a counterproductive thing for someone practicing sound design to do because the focus should be on developing your own sonic style, but I've actually found the opposite to be true. Recreating a sound you love is a great way to discover techniques that you'd never think to try on your own. It's no secret that with strict limitations, people become far more creative. Let's just start by getting to know the portal gun sound inside and out. We won't be making the portal spawn sound, just the shot. So I'm going to play the sound a few times all the way through, and then isolate certain elements and play those on their own. While I'm playing all these clips, I want you to mentally write down a list of words that come to mind. These words can be really anything.
Kind of a fresh, like that freshly opened can of tennis balls and like, seriously.
As long as they remind you of what you're hearing. Ready? Here we go. All right, here's the list I came up with. Door slam, soft kick drum, fire ignite, computer power on, white noise, close explosion, laser slinky. I also wrote down cluck like from a chicken, but I didn't end up using a chicken cluck sound, so we'll forget that one. Now that we've gathered this list of sounds, we're ready to start designing, but don't rush this part. I spent about half an hour just finding these samples. Generally, I don't like to move past this step until the samples I have really feel like together they have all the elements I'm looking for. I need to draw all my confidence from these samples, otherwise I'll give up halfway through and blame it on the sounds. I'd rather take away that excuse if possible. Let's start with the lowest layer of the sound. This is the part that to me sounds the most unique and interesting. In order to replicate it, I took the kick drum and the door slam sounds and repitched them one at a time until they sounded the most like the tone in the original portal gun. Then I took some of the high-end frequencies out of the door slam sound so it didn't literally sound like a door slamming shut. This is what I got. Then I took the fire ignition, the explosion, and the laser slinky sample and added some texture to the low thump that I just made. This is what the low layer sounds like now. Next, I designed a fizzle layer to add on top. It's hard to hear at first, but there's a very subtle high-end sizzling sound in the original. Take a listen. On a normal gunshot sound, this layer would have things like metal movement, small sharp metallic hits, and things like that to really polish it up and make it sound more modern and hyper-realistic. Here's an example of what I mean on something like a sniper rifle. Here's without the high layer, and with. All we need to do to make this for the portal gun is to take any of our samples and pitch them up to the same frequency as the sizzle in the portal gun, and then add some subtle distortion in EQ. Here's my version of that layer. Now we need to recreate maybe the most important and distinct part of the sample, the wobbling tail. The tremolo effect on the tail of the original sound is one of my favorite effects to use in sound design. I love it on basically everything. Sci-fi vehicle engines, laser guns, guitars, dialogue. But today we're going to use the wind sound that I pulled from our list to make the tail. So first let's figure out how to make it wobble at the right speed, then we'll worry about the tone. If you're making this on your own, feel free to care far less than I am right now, but I don't want to just earball this because it's for YouTube, so here we go. Alright, so if you look at the original portal gun tail and measure the distance between all the little bumps, you get an average of about 70 milliseconds. If we then take 1 and divide it by 0.07, we get approximately 14.3. This is the frequency in hertz that we want our sound to wobble at to match the speed of the original. Here's what the wind track sounds like with a 14.3 hertz tremolo effect. It's already pretty good. Once we have that, most of the work is already done. Now it's all about matching as best we can the tone of the original. And this is pretty much all done with EQ. Sometimes it's super helpful not just to use your ears, but also your eyes. If you watch the frequencies closely in the original, you see where the majority of the peaks are, and you can kind of replicate that with an EQ in your own sample. I did that to the wind and ended up with this for our tail. Alright, now that we have all the layers we need to assemble the final sound, let's layer our shot back with the ambience and the portal spawn sound and see how we did. As predicted, I still love the original sound more, but I do think we got pretty close to achieving the same feeling, and that's the best we can do after all. Go give this a try yourself and let me know how it goes. If you guys want to see the close-up details of the hundreds of tracks that went into the 5 different versions of this sound that I tried before landing on this final version, feel free to join my Patreon this month and you'll get access to a 40-minute video lesson that shows exactly that. There's really a lot of value in replicating the sounds you love, but I think the most important thing when trying these kinds of exercises is taking what you learn and using it in other designs. It's not worth hammering away for weeks at your computer unless you pick up some new tools along the way. Let me know what sound design topics you want to see me cover next in the comments. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.